You watch on 100 Mile Drive, a channel where I teach you to buy the right car. And today I have a 2025 Toyota Crown Signia limited trim that comes in hybrid only and has a combine of 240 horsepower. And today I'm going to answer two biggest questions on this channel. And the first question, what does it feel like driving Toyota Crown Signia in the real world? And if this is the first time you're watching 100 Mile Drive, well, this is the channel where I say, before you buy a Toyota Crown Signia or any other car, don't go to the dealership and settle for a 5-minute test drive. Instead, rent a similar car, just like I did, and drive it for at least 100 miles in city streets, highway, and twisty roads to be able to answer the biggest question I'm answering on this channel: how does it feel to drive? And for question number two, how does this Crown Signia feel like to drive against cars like Toyota RAV4 Hybrid or Lexus NX 350h or Toyota Highlander or Lexus RX 350h or even Camry? Let's find out. So first I'm going to drive this Crown Signia in the city to check out its acceleration, braking, steering, and most importantly, its suspension, its ride comfort. Then I'm going to take it on the highway to check out its acoustics and most importantly, mid-range power to see if this 4,200-pound machine has enough power to pull itself. And finally, I'm going to take it to the twisty roads to put this TNGA platform to the test and basically see what is its balance and safety like. And at the end of the video, I'm gonna give you my desirable impression score and literally tell you, would I buy this car or consider it or completely avoid it? And now first, quick walk around this Toyota Crown Signia just to discuss its exterior styling. Now the red color is definitely not my favorite. I would get storm cloud or maybe black. But what do I think about this design? It's certainly, I wouldn't call it beautiful, or in contrast, I wouldn't say it's ugly. I would call it elegant and interesting. It's probably something that'll grow on me over the time. But certainly there's a lot of craftsmanship in this vehicle. This one is built in Japan, so you could see all the details and the panel gaps. It's very nicely built for sure. Now, love these wheels, 21-inch wheels. This is the reason why you want to get the limited trim. These are 235/45 R21 wheels and tires. Very comfy tires we're going to discuss as I drive this vehicle. Overall, the side profile, yes, looks more wagon to me than the SUV, but I don't mind it. I think it looks, like I said, pretty interesting. Now, coming on the rear, same thing. I don't think they screwed up anything. I think it follows the same kind of language, design language, and it looks pretty elegant, like I said. So it's probably something I'll even like. I kind of want to see more of them on the road because they're pretty rare to see still. Let's quickly do check the trunk area. There are a lot of videos online, where the people go over the exterior and interior, so I'm not going to spend much time on this. It's a decent size trunk, not like for like a large SUV. And you can see a lot of blankets here. Yesterday in the nighttime, we went to the beach and we spent some time just literally folding all the seats flat and then just enjoying in this car, listening to the beautiful JBL sound. As you can see, I just put this one seat down to show you this little insert here that kind of lays all the way down, and you can make a complete flat area here. So it's pretty cool. Now, let's do a quick door sound check. These doors look like Volvo, right? Volvo doors. And I'm pretty surprised to see these kind of heavy doors from Toyota. This definitely looks Lexus to me. It sounds all right. It sounds heavy and pretty solid, I would say. All right, let's get on the inside. And getting on the inside, just want to quickly discuss the interior quality of this Toyota Crown Signia. Now, starting with the doors, finally with the Toyota badge, I see some really good quality materials, even though, like they say, this is a plastic, but it's very well molded. This is soft touch. This is some hard plastic, but so far looks like a decent quality plastic, shiny stuff here. Now here on the inside, right, what reminds me that this is a Toyota is this. This is the only kind of cheap plastic here, this piece. I wish this was a soft touch material and this, but nah, this is the only plasticky kind of looking, cheap looking. This is also plastic, hard plastic, but it kind of looks okay. This is soft touch, and then hard plastic here. But at least everything is very well molded, and look how elegant this design of this Crown Signia. I'm gonna go ahead and start it. So overall, it's definitely a very pleasant cabin to be in. This is a kind of gray, shiny plastic here. I have seen videos with Redline reviews showing that they can leave scratches easily. So be careful around this area. Definitely love this new wireless charging. Even though I don't like wireless charging, it's so slow, and here is the same thing. It's not charging, it's super fast, but at least it's like a cool slot you can put your phone in, including your wallet, maybe some other stuff. This is my BMW key, can put it right here. Very cool. And this is my Starbucks bottle, the thin bottle that usually is very shaky in cars. Here, this is nice. I really like these little things that hold the bottle, and this holds pretty well here. Of course, if you know, in tight turns it will move, but overall it's not bad. And then you have your door pockets, you can put your bottle. So yeah, you can definitely travel in this car. Not a ton of, like, you know, little storage areas here, and also this glove compartment is kind of tiny. Not sure why. This could be larger, but you know, it is what it is. But and then this is straight out of Lexus, right? Now you guys can watch a video, I'm gonna link it in the description, by Car Care Nut Guy, who really goes around and explains what is from Lexus, what is from Toyota. Let's say this shifter is from LC500. He really talks about all this. I just want to reference that video so you can see the quality of this Crown Signia. These are beautiful leather materials in XLE and limited trim. They're pretty soft seats and very, very comfy. My wife yesterday also praised them. Now, the only really drawback, we're not getting any open air experience here. This is just the moonroof. I think Toyota dealing with a lot of complaints, just like BMW, with this, you know, rattling sunroofs and how they leak and stuff. Maybe they just decided to go with the moonroof. All right, let me go ahead and quickly jump on the rear seat to discuss the headroom. All right, I am in the rear of the Toyota Crown Signia. The first thing, let's discuss the headroom space, right? I am 6 feet 2 inches tall, and yes, it is a little tight here to the point where I am bumping into the roof line. So of course, you have to kind of scoop yourself a little bit down, and then you're gonna be fine. And that's probably how most people sit, right? But if I sit upright, I will be bumping into the side area and a little bit of this back area. So yes, the XLE trim will give you a 1 inch extra of the head clearance, so that's something to consider. But I would still look into the limited trim because this has a JBL sound that has 11 speakers, and it sounds absolutely amazing. Very comparable to the 16 speaker in the BMW. So the highs are good here, mid-range is good. The bass is maybe not as deep, and the overall surround sound maybe not as good as the Carbon Hardin with 16 speakers, but it's definitely comparable. Now, as far as the knee room, here I am pretty comfortable overall. There's plenty of space. It's about 37 inch. So everyone will be comfortable here. Now you have your armrest, and you can sit pretty comfortably here. All right, enough of this. Let's go ahead and drive it. And first, driving Crown Signia in the city. So I'm gonna kind of throw it in a sport mode and drive, and let's see what is it all about. All right, let's go. So obviously, Crown Signia is not designed for speed, right? Even though 0 to 60 is 7 seconds. How does it feel in the real world, right? It just feels adequate. I wouldn't say it's fast. I wouldn't call it like satisfying. I'll just say it is definitely adequate for this vehicle. You can certainly feel the weight of this car. That's 4,200 pounds. So when you drive this car, you can tell that it's, you know, not a Camry, that it's something heavier and more rigid, more kind of beefier, I would say. So let's hit the stop here, and we'll do a quick lunge. All right, stop, let's go. And there you go. So one thing it does in some hard accelerations, like a little faster applications, it will do a little wheel slip of the front tires. Now, I don't know why, but in Toyotas, I've experienced this in the RAV4. It just happens, and I've seen other reviewers mention that as well. So I'm not sure how that torque is distributed in those hard accelerations, but certainly there is a little wheel slip that you see in Toyota products, even though it's an all-wheel drive, right? But as you know, the all-wheel drive is basically that there is an electric motor on the rear chassis. So let's do one more time. Quick lunge. All right, let's go. Yeah, there's a very quick wheel slip. It doesn't look bad. It's just, you know, you notice it, and then you're just kind of wondering, well, it's all-wheel drive. Why does it do it, right? So what about the brakes in this car? Brakes are pretty solid, but they take time to get used to them. The pedal is a little heavy, and it does require a little bit of a more effort to kind of press it. And then you get this a little bit I don't want to use word mushy like we did in the past Toyota products, but it does take a little more travel time to for the car to react to it, right? But again, it is just how it's tuned, and it takes time to get used to it. Otherwise, brakes, pretty solid. The car does stop. Now, suspension is on the softer side, so there is a little bit of a lean forward, but it's not excessive, and it's not something that will make you dizzy or something if you like in stop and go traffic. It's just something a little natural, but it stops pretty well. In fact, brakes are solid. Like once you actually experience this power, the braking power, then you can tell that it's a pretty solid car. And of course, nothing is happening to the steering wheel. It just reacts really well, pretty solid. So it's really good to see Toyota come this far to deliver us, you know, confidence in braking as well. All right, next, let's talk about steering. So I've been driving Toyotas for like long time in my college days. I had 3 Camrys back to back, so I drove Toyotas for almost 10 years. And steering is also one area where I'm praising modern Toyotas, right? I've brought a few of them on the channel, most recently a Camry, 2025 Camry, and the steering is in like a medium to light kind of feel, but it responds pretty well. It's responsive, it's not loose or wobbly, and it certainly blends in well with the suspension, and then it reacts fairly fine. Now, how is it different than, let's say, Camry, right? The Crown Signia. So it's heavier, you feel the weight, and because of that, it might feel a little slower, like not slower speed-wise, but not as nimble, right? Not as quick. Like the Camry Hybrid that I brought on the channel, that by the way also was SE trim, a firmer suspension. It was much quicker. It almost felt like, you know, like a European car to me. This car feels a little more sluggish, but not to give it any negative point, right? It's just tuned this way so you appreciate just spending time cruising in this car, you know, driving comfortably. So it's not a car to throw around quickly. It's not a car to just, you know, if you're that kind of a aggressive driver, then you may find this car a bit slow for you. But it's certainly not slow, and it's just tuned this way. Now, when I first picked up this car, my first maybe couple hours, I was maybe not even liking it, I would say. But as I spend more time, as my wife and I spend more time, then we kind of start appreciating the comfort that this car provides, because this is what you need for family trips. This is what you need to enjoy and relax in the seats, right? Let's say Camry Hybrid SE trim is more fun, but yet it's a bit more bumpier, and it will not be as relaxing as this car. And this is what the whole combination of this car speaks. You have this very cushy, comfortable seats. They're very soft material, leather material. You have very elegant dash. So the whole impression of this cabin is just to just enjoy your driving experience, enjoy your comfortable ride, have this, you know, very cushioned suspension that I'm gonna talk about next. So it's all about just delivering this comfort. All right, let's talk about suspension next. And now driving on my favorite Tampa Avenue with all these imperfections on the road, experiencing and discussing the suspension in Toyota Crown Signia. So what does it feel like? Well, it is definitely very comfortable. Now, there's no sophistication in this car. This does not have adaptive dampers, yet you could tell it's a more rigid kind of chassis, more SUV than sedan type of a chassis. And it's like you having like a cloud underneath you. It's very kind of like very well padded. So you don't have that premium feel where I like to describe some of cars like some BMWs and even let's say RX 500h, where they have that a little bit sophisticated kind of gliding motion over the bump, where you feel kind of that pleasantly even surprised how it soaks the bumps, right? So here it's a more traditional approach to how it handles the bumps. It just has enough padding and cushion where it reacts to the bump, and it's just like there's so much padding that it's just soft. It's very soft. So yes, certain thing it completely erases certain minor imperfections, but even if you feel them, it's kind of like they are far from you, right? They're not like right here. So hope it kind of makes sense. Basically, it's a more traditional way. It's kind of a simplistic way that the damping is done on this car, but it's definitely very soft cushion, and that's probably part of what you will enjoy in this car. Now, it would be interesting to see Crown having adaptive dampers or maybe XSE trim, right, where you'll have firmer suspension. I think it'll add more emotion to this car, where it'll feel more premium, because it certainly does in terms of the cabin and overall feel, has that premiumness for sure, like in Lexus. Or, you know, the regular sedan Crown has that iForce Max, right, with the turbo engine. So it'd be interesting to see that coming here. And like I said, maybe with the adaptive dampers or XSE trim. Toyota, please consider. So what is the overall impression, right? I think this car is very well suited for families or even, you know, young folks who are considering this as a commuter, right? Because it's a hybrid, it has a very good fuel efficiency. Or families, right? If you can make this work, if you don't need a third row, then certainly is a very, very comfortable vehicle to be in. Another part, I'm considering this car because it has towing capacity of 2,700 pounds. This is how it's also different than, let's say, your RAV4 Prime even, right? Or Hybrid, which can only tow 1,500 pounds. This can tow 2,700 pounds. So it has a rigid chassis. It has a special cooling added to the transmission where it can really tow those trailers, right? The lightweight trailers, maybe 2,500 pound trailers. It can definitely tow. I don't know if it's gonna be with ease or not. If we end up buying this car, it's definitely something I'm gonna create content on. So overall, very positive impression. Now let's go ahead and drive it on a highway. All right, and I'm about to merge the highway. Let's go. Hit on ramp. I am in normal mode just to kind of see this hard acceleration. Now, hybrid acceleration is far from exciting, right? So that's one thing that people don't like. And then this eCVT transmission, droning, right? Quite honestly, I kind of like what Honda's CR-V Hybrid did, where they mimic those fake kind of shifts. And it feels a little bit more natural, even though it is also loud. But nevertheless, Toyota nailed their hybrid system. I mean, I love how seamless it is. You don't know when you are in EV mode, when the engine kicks in some lower RPM, right, driving conditions. But of course, if you are accelerating, it is something just you kind of, you know, should be okay with, right? And if you're listening to JBL, then you don't even really pay attention. So the first thing, let's check the sound insulation in Toyota Crown Signia. It's about 62, 63. All right, yeah, that's pretty good. And when I was looking at the meter, it says my attention is, you know, detected that I'm not focused or something. I'm not looking. There's a lot of stuff going on in this car in terms of driver assistance. And by the way, 62 is pretty good. So sound insulation in this car is very noticeably well. You do hear certain things here and there, but overall it's a fairly quiet cabin to be in. And this is another thing you're gonna enjoy on your trips, especially like driving in a freeway or, you know, in the loud, busy LA. It's very quiet here. And again, your JBL sound, if you put that up with those very good clean highs and mid, you're gonna really enjoy spending time in this car. Next thing, let's talk about mid-range power. Now, one thing I noticed, there's not much difference between the normal mode and sport mode. And I don't even know why these paddle shifters even exist, because you don't get anything satisfying from downshifting in this car, so you just rather let the car do it by itself. So I'm in the normal mode now, and normal, let's floor it. All right, builds power, and yeah, it's decent. Yeah, you could tell it's on the slower side. Let's do it one more time, but it certainly builds decent power eventually. Floor it. Yeah, it takes time, and then it goes. Yeah, it's certainly not even satisfying. It's just like decent, right, to overtake cars. Let me put it in sport mode and see if that does anything different. Right, we're just trying to see what kind of pull we get. 1, 2, 3, floor. Yeah, exact same thing. I see nothing different between sport mode or normal mode. One more time. driving, floor. Yeah, I probably would have to spend more time or maybe even time it to see if there's any difference, but just in the real world, I can't see anything different in the normal versus the sport mode. And again, we don't have adaptive dampers. Steering to me feels also about the same in sport and normal mode. There's probably something happens, but it will require more time analyzing this to understand. All right, so again, what is it like spending time in this car? And like I said, it's pretty nice. A very well cushioned suspension, good audio system, very comfortable seats, pleasant cabin to be in, upscale materials, which pretty much come from Lexus more than Toyota. So you're definitely gonna enjoy in this car, and it feels more SUV than sedan. It's literally in between. It's not as high as you would expect to be like in RAV4, but it's not as lower as it's closer to Camry, of course, than the RAV4, I would say, but it's still nice, it's decent, and I really like it. So the only thing, the windshield feels a little kind of shorter. It's like a shorter frame. You can kind of notice it, like in crossovers or even in sedans like Camry, the windshield is just kind of longer, like not wider, but like longer. The here it's kind of shorter. That's something definitely noticeable. And one final thing I want to say, I love all the driver assist features this car has. It has a traffic jam assist, works really well. The thing that I really like is that I don't even know what it's called, but basically when you are driving in the city, you're approaching another car, it kind of brakes for you. And you would think it's intrusive, but it's actually not. And I kind of started liking it, that there's another, you know, companion, which is your car, or a system that basically also monitors to make sure you don't rear end someone, right? Especially in like a busy, maybe traffic where there's chaos happening. All right, now let's go hit Twisty Road so we can discuss the balance in this car. All right. And now I'm gonna drive Toyota Crown Signia on the Twisty Road. So I'm gonna throw it in sport mode. All right, let's go. And guys, for those watching first time, why do I bring cars on twisty roads, right? Well, this is where cars open up. And like I like to say, for me, cars either gain respect on the twisty roads or they lose it. And for that, I don't have to drive them fast. I can stay well within speed limit. And in my case, also, I'm going a little bit of downhill. I've already driven this car before. This is just for demonstration purposes to discuss the balance and safety of the Crown Signia. So, what we are dealing here, we're dealing with the 4,200 pound car, hybrid. Like I said, it's not exciting the way it accelerates or sounds, but it's not for that. But we want to see how balanced it is, this TNGA platform. And guys, it is pretty well balanced. Now this is third or fourth car that I'm driving on TNGA platform. No, if you include Lexus's, maybe the 7th or 8th. I've driven all the RX trims, the new ones. And whether it has adaptive suspension or not, like in case of Camry, or in this case, Camry has sporty suspension, and this one has a more of a SUV soft suspension. Yes, it is soft, it is a little bouncy, it even feels a little horsey, right? Because when we hit in mid-corner, these bumps and imperfections, the car does a little kind of up and down, but it does it in very reasonably. It's not wobbly, it's not shaky. And most importantly, this TNG platform that Toyota has now is very stable. So if somebody brakes in front of me, I can tell that, you know, if you understand this car, if you understand how it behaves, then you have a very solid chance to overtake that. Tires are pretty grippy here, by the way, too. They're 235, not really wide, but they're pretty grippy. And yes, there is a lean. There's more lean than, let's say, in, you know, SE Camry or even the RX 350h Hybrid. There's certainly more lean here, but it holds really well. Now this is a little faster corner. Yes, it loses a little bit of a grip, but it stays very, very controlled. The chassis didn't dance. It just, there was a sliding motion here as well. Very nice, very nice. So tires, you know, grippy. They're grippy. Yes, of course we could have wider tires, but this is not to have fun on the back roads. It does not inspire like confidence. There's no emotional like fun factor. even that I found in SE Camry, where I said it's fun, this is not to say it's fun, it's just capable. And a cool thing is the steering. Steering feels really well, like balanced. It's, you know, responds pretty well. It's pretty direct. Brakes feel okay, fairly solid. Like I said, there is a little bit of a horsey kind of feel in mid corner, and then when you hit those bumps, but that's again because we don't have adaptive dampers. It's not pressed down, but nevertheless, it holds pretty well. And man, this TNG platform, kudos to Toyota. Sometimes I look at the badge, I'm like, oh, okay, it's not like a Volkswagen. It's not Honda, it is Toyota. So finally, Toyota builds cars that are stable, that are basically, even though they are soft, even though it's not a Lexus, you know, with solenoid actuated shocks that you find in RX 500H that adjust pretty well. This is your standard, very well cushioned suspension, and yet it is very stable. And I can say I gain more respect for this Crown Signia. So let me go ahead and summarize this. And I just completed driving 2025 Toyota Crown in the city, highway, and twisty roads, and here are my thoughts. First of all, I just got 35.6 mpgs average after 2 days, and this is not just a regular driving, regular commute. This is me actually testing this car, driving in a lot of hilly areas, twisty roads, you know, basically using it a little bit more than you would usually use it like. So I think I can easily average 40 mpg if I, you know, use it in my day-to-day commute. Now, back to this car. I really like, you know, the interior of this cabin. It is a very, very nice place to be in. I definitely enjoy these physical buttons for climate control. Thank you, Toyota, for not going Lexus in this department. And overall, it feels more Lexus than Toyota to me. Yes, there are a few areas that remind us, you know, it is a Toyota with this plasticky materials, but overall, you know, the overall feeling of this cabin is definitely more Lexus than Toyota. Now, how does it stack up against its direct, I wouldn't even call it rivals, but other vehicles, right? So the RAV4 Hybrid, certainly a vehicle I kind of liked. I used it on the long trips. I reviewed it on the channel, but I don't like this Toyota's cheap, you know, materials that they use. I know they want you to have it in Toyota, and then if you want the better materials, go with Lexus, right? But it got to the point where it's like, you know, very plasticky, too cheap. But again, if you're okay with that, then that's fine. If you need more cargo space, taller platform, then RAV4 Hybrid is the way to go. But also remember, if you want to kind of tow something, right, that I'm considering now, this car can tow 2,700 pounds, and it's there in the manual, all the instructions how to do it, where RAV4 Hybrid can only do 1,500 pounds, or Prime can do 2,500 pounds. So the chassis of this vehicle is more rigid than the RAV4 Prime, even though that has like a 306 horsepower versus this having only 240. Now, compared to Highlander, why do I bring up Highlander, right? It's a 3-row crossover. Well, if you watch the Car Care Nut Guy channel, he references Highlander because the engine and transmission came straight out of the Highlander into this vehicle. So literally this has a Highlander motor and the transmission, all the electrical components. So yeah, but again, Highlander, if you need a 3-row, but I could not stand how cheaply made that Highlander is, including the platinum trim, all this plastic materials, the rear doors. But if you have to go 3-row, then go with that. The only thing, Toyota puts so many markups on them, and then the payment comes out really high. It's like a Lexus level payment on the Highlander Hybrid. And of course, if you want to look into the RX 350h, which is the next logical car, right? Because it's the same hybrid, can tow 3,500 pounds, but it's not recommended though. It is a far more expensive vehicle, right? It's feels a bit more upscale than this. Obviously higher platform, but everything is a touch screen. And also the ride is a little firmer in the RX 350h because they use, in general, firmer suspension and gas pressurized shocks for heavier load. So it's a choice to make, right? I think it has a very weird spot in the lineup, and if this car can fit in your lifestyle, then I think it's a very good bargain, even though with a few downsides, right, of some clearance in the rear space. So overall, I enjoy this car. My desirable impression score will be 7.5 out of 10. There are certain things I wish this car did maybe better, but I still don't mind the way it is, and I think Toyota thought out really well a lot of details in this car. So let me know what you think. Are you considering this car? Are you buying one? Just to give you a little tip, you can get as high as $3,000 to $4,000 off a limited trim if you really do your due diligence and shop around. I've seen that happen. All right, let me know what you think, and if you want to watch my Camry video, watch it on this side. You want to watch my all Lexus RX trims where I kind of pick from the worst to best, you can watch this video right here, and I'll catch you next time.